Hi, this is Kyle Brinkman, professionally known as Das Kapital. I'm known as a music producer, a DJ, radio show host, many music industry things for 10 years now, about kind of independent, doing it my own way kind of vibe. I think when the first lockdown came in, when everything needed to happen, looking at how a lot of industry friends in Cape Town, festival promoters, club promoters were handling the situation, or I guess weren't handling the situation. The idea of there being a 3-week hard lockdown, even maybe if it had to be extended slightly, and then moving into kind of gradually phasing that out in an ideal situation, I was okay with it. It was a huge undertaking, and in practice should have done more than it did. There should have been more infrastructure in place. It should have been the lines of communication between creatives on the ground, every single layer of staff as well that gets paid by the creative industry as well, just kind of left in the dark. And that was miserable and upsetting because we were left to fend for ourselves, and still to some degree are, which I'm sure we'll touch on later. And at the same time, you actually, as much as I don't like government stepping in, when you're dealing with something like a virus, where you're dealing with something like this, where people are going to just fight anyway because everyone thinks they're the main character in their own stories, I respect some of the countries that took really, really intense approaches to making sure that people followed the rules, because it actually ended up oftentimes yielding better results. And letting people just do what they want, combined with government inefficiency, has now led this to a point where I don't even know how I'm supposed to feel about it anymore. It's so drawn out. It's so just unnecessary almost, that like I'm as a person in the entertainment industry, I almost don't know whether the views that I share with my friends in the industry at the moment, the position that we've come to take, is actually the correct one anymore. At this point, I can't actually tell who I'm supposed to be more upset at. I don't know if, when I'm driving through the CBD of Cape Town to go and do something, because I'm not doing things, but I'm not out and about at every party. I'm not going to parties. I've been supporting some smaller events that have been really going out of their way to make sure that people are safe, even if the infectivity numbers are lower than we expected, even if deaths are lower than we'd planned. I don't want the whole world to shut down, but I do want people to be safe within reason. And right now, I'm kind of like, I'm just so past the point. Like, it's been, when you've spent 10 years in an industry and you've kind of gotten used to how things are, and like scummy people are scummy people, and, drunk people and drug people in a crowd, it's all good and well and it's fine. But then kind of when you slow down and you actually have to take stock of all of this, and you realize like, we should be doing better to begin with. Like, as the creative industry, we should have put more effort into making sure that these kinds of places were safe and rules were being followed. Because there's a culture of no one giving, if I may, I mean, not swear, no one gives a damn. Nobody. The people, I open my Instagram and I see parties with well over the capacity, with people lying on top of each other, like acting like it's 2018, and at the same time, I see people, working class DJs, what I would describe as working class DJs, because I feel the worst for them. The people that were playing every single week but needed to, that had the residencies, that had their own equipment, that were traveling, that were working their asses off to make sure that they could pay rent. They are the people hit hardest. And it's this weird place where I can't say, oh, how dare you take the gigs, or how dare promoters throw parties, or how dare people want to party anymore, because it's just so up in the air. It's so nothing. And as much as I can come in with these lofty ideas of what events and clubbing and all of this should be, it's because I've come to a point, I guess, after 10 years where, you can say, this is what I expect. I expect this from events. I expect this from my crowd. I expect this from my government. I expect this from, and I can look at other countries and other friends around the world who, I've got friends in Australia and New Zealand, and you kind of just want to go, why can't we have that? We could, if we locked down properly, if the government stepped in properly, if everyone played their part, if we followed regulations. I don't know where to point the finger anymore. That's why I'm so confused, because I want to say, that we've been left in the ditch. But at the same time, every single time we've relaxed restrictions, Cape Town at the moment is a fucking dog show. Like, it's a nightmare. And I think you've seen it here and there. You've been down maybe, or people you know have been down, and it's okay because their place is doing it right. But then whether it's the promenade, whether it's in a suburb, whether it's higher income, lower income, people are just, I feel like I'm a crazy person for wearing a mask. I feel like I'm a crazy person for trying to like adhere to social distancing. Where like, I'm not here to defend that as the be all and end all solution. I'm just very, very concerned that people are fatigued past the point of giving a shit anymore. And government is just basically set up to fail. As we can see time and time again, they have absolutely no fucking idea how to deliver on anything. Like, as small as these things seem to people, it's going to make the world of difference for how we begin rolling out events. I don't really care about any individual's views on the virus, on its infectivity, on its anything. But if you want to be a part of a society, you have to actually follow the rules of that society. You can't pick and choose and go, for now, again, that main character syndrome thing. There are people who think this is some government conspiracy to take away your freedoms. Where like, you're not that important. This is a stupid way to take away freedoms, because all you're actually doing is shooting your economy in the foot. And I think at this point, from everyone that I speak to who are a lot of my good friends are higher ups in event companies that have, they shut their events down before COVID was even a thing. Like they've been talking with provincial government about rolling out like testing on event sites and these kinds of discussions. Like, I'm part of those discussions because we're a bunch of older people, somewhere between the ages of 25 and like 45. This window of people who've been in the scene long enough where we're like, you know what, if you want to throw your play grave because you have to, we get it, but we can't support you anymore. If you want to attend these parties because you need to go out, that's fine. But now we have to be extra cautious of who we let into our events. These kinds of things hold an entire scene back, where I can't put the blame on people who are just going out of there and thinking, well, it's open season, let me just try and figure out how to survive and make do. Because like, you can really tell the difference between people doing shit for survival and people who are opportunists. And the opportunists are brazen. And that's the big difference. There are people who have been afraid and felt shitty about accepting gigs where like, it's the difference between them paying rent or not. And we're seeing at the same time people doing these like DM for address secret techno parties in the middle of every major city. And you kind of want to smack these people in the face and just, you're not going to go out of business. You're not going to die if you don't get to throw this little shitty progressive like Berlin deep house party that you've thrown a million times before with the same lineup. We have to set a standard. That's my problem. Is I get the young kids aren't going to listen. Like anyone under the age of 25 is invincible. They're going to do what they want. They're going to go to the same clubs, listen to the same music. COVID's a lie. But those of us that are over 25 at minimum should know better. Like, we've done this for so many years. We should be leading from the front. That's the point. The old people are going to be old and aren't going to adapt. The young people aren't going to see a problem with doing dumb shit. And it's then therefore up to our generation to kind of draw the line in the sand and say, this is the fucking ballpark you can play in safely. Doesn't matter whether you're sick or you don't have a grandma. Follow the rules and you can do your cocaine. You can hook up with your random girl. You can do what the fuck you want to do. Not our problem, because we know you're safe. Once you're in our doors, for the most part, if you're sick, we can trace you. Dead simple. And we know that you wore a mask and you weren't walking around spitting on people the whole time. Phenomenal. So if you're going to play an event and the promoters have, within good faith, promised you that it's going to be less than X amount of people, and then you go, great, I'm going to play. However, I am going to wear a mask the whole time. Please keep 1.5 meters distance from me, etc., etc. Set up those rules and also communicate it with their audiences, because at this point, it doesn't matter whether you have 500 followers or 50,000 followers. You should be communicating openly with your audience. I've been anti a lot of shitty events because of what it has done, and we've seen it time and time again. And we're currently in a cycle now where there are a bunch of DJs and artists who are just actively openly posting photos of them at events and gigs, just going like acting like, again, like it's 2018. And I think I have finally been able to stand behind some events and say, I think these are, to the best of our ability, these people are going to do the best that they can to make sure that you're safe. And then when I was at the events, I was there with the promoters, with the people, making sure that they're then walking around and going, put your mask on. And it's a pain in the ass to do, but it's those kinds of commitments, knowing that, will you have staff there to make sure that safety regulations are being adhered to? Is there enough open space? Is there enough ventilation? You can't just be the hands-off, I'm just here to play music person anymore. I think that's a general concept that, yes, okay, cool, you're just here for the music and you're meant to just be the entertainer. But as someone who's literally there to, in the worst case, just provide music, and in the best case, you're there to sell tickets, and you're there to encourage however many people of the 200 cap or the 250 cap to come, you kind of owe it to those 50 to 100 to however many you are specifically supposed to bring to make sure that they're safe. Because if they're not, that's directly on you. So it's like, you got to make rules with yourselves. You got to know when to, I'm not saying walk away from the gig if you get there and there are too many people, but you've really got to speak to the promoter and tell them, hey, this is unacceptable. Or, hey, you promised me something and this is in breach of our contract that we signed. And like, this is, if you don't go about rectifying this moving forward, I don't feel comfortable working with you. And that's a hard stance to take, especially when people need the income. It's been it's like I mentioned, there being a big kind of eye-opening experience of the last year, this being a bit of like the wool being pulled off my eyes. And I've been going in a singular direction for the most part, not without its own twists and turns, but when you've been going in a direction for 10 years, it's like I always liken the music industry to the myth of Sisyphus, where he pushes the rock uphill every day and then it rolls back on him every night. So you kind of have to start again, and every day you roll the rock up the hill and then it rolls back. And that's kind of how it is. It's almost like that's you know, it's the cycle of like releasing music. We release oftentimes, yes, sometimes to get radio play, but we release music so that we can get gigs, so that we can make our actual living, so that we can go out there, that we can entertain people. It's kind of this cycle of that. And realizing, as soon as lockdown kind of hit, I realized like, wow, I kind of feel a bit burnt out. Hey, and then the longer that settled in, for that first 3 weeks, month that I thought it was going to be, I just really realized like, man, I'm spent, because I've been chasing South African industry, as you know. It's very interesting. It's very clicky, and I'm not someone who necessarily fits into the easily describable status quo. I'm not typically your tech house boykie making the bangers for a particular city, nor am I super underground Mr. Legit, because like I'm on 5FM, and then people think, oh, that means he's like Roger Good levels of commercial. So I'm in this gray area where I basically always have had to kind of just prove my worth over and over again. And I kind of got tired of it. At the beginning of the lockdown, I kind of said, I'm going to put music on hold. And not entirely. Like, I've thrown my love into radio because it gave me a chance to promote other artists, especially African artists and South African artists who need the shine right now more than ever. Like, we need to like boost as many artists as we can. But the cycle of chasing music and making club music when there are no clubs, and kind of being disillusioned with the whole club culture, because you see all the people that I'm supposed to have been entertaining over a given weekend are throwing like little illegal house parties in the middle of a hard lockdown, going, this isn't going to affect me. And those are the people that'll then send messages being like, Brew, when are raves back, boy? And I'm like, I don't want to play to you. I don't want to make music for you anymore. I especially don't want to make music because I have to. So in a weird way, it has kind of like taken everything from me. The lockdown just removed my joy, removed a lot of the joy of music. It removed the release, the catharsis that came with DJing. Because like, you could excuse all the scummy people you work with. You could excuse all the bullshit you go through. The minute you get to stand on that stage, you get to play some records you made, music by your friends. You get to stand there and be like, I'm controlling this crowd. I'm the great dude who knows how to make people have a good time, and I don't fucking need booze or drugs or anything. It's just me and the music and people. Sick. And I kind of actually had to go, you know what? I can't live like that, right? I can't. What's the point? I want to come back to music on my own terms. I've distanced myself from so much music stuff because of how, like, that scumminess of so many people around me, and realizing that I can't tolerate it anymore, and that I would rather sink my energy into good people, good projects, stuff that makes me feel creatively fulfilled, as well as stuff that is not reliant on the populace behaving well or the government doing their job. Because at the moment, those are the two things that we're waiting for, right? Because we're waiting for vaccinations, we're waiting for a few things. We're waiting for vaccines, we're waiting for people to not think it's a conspiracy theory and take those vaccines. We're waiting for people to follow the rules, and these are things that I can't bank on. So I would rather go, I'll make music when I want to make music, I'll release it when I want to release it, and I'm going to make it really fun and really cool, but I'm not chasing anything. The minute that they announced the end of this past, after Christmas, and they were like, whatever, it's level 1 again, and I think the first tweet I sent is, the third wave is going to fucking pump, dude, like, with a smiling face. Because you could see as soon as it's level 1, and I get it. Again, it's that thing of they're working class DJs, but seeing top tier artists, like the people who actually never had to be affected by level 1 anyway, because they could have just hopped on a plane and left to Europe and gone and DJed, seeing them posting their booking info, hearing, we've seen enough stories of people getting roasted over the coals for throwing illegal events, and like, there's very little repercussions. It's going to keep happening. This is going to just keep going until either we can find a way to cheaply subsidize testing and be relatively certain that our crowds are safe, vaccines are rolled out really quickly, or people, and across the board, low income, high income, white, black, colored, Indian, everybody, people follow the rules, like follow even just the simple ones that are there to make sure that, like, if you are sick for whatever reason and your test is a negative and you're just maybe asymptomatic, that you don't spit on someone's drink and then they get sick. The small shit like that will allow us to even, I'm excited for this little shitty phase of the events industry we're in. I went to a party where there were like, less than 200 people on an amazing sound system, ventilation, and yeah, there were people taking their masks off. And yeah, I had to walk around like a cop at my first party I'd been to in a year, being like, please mask, please mask, please. And I felt old, but at the same time, it's crazy to think that, like, before that, I was thinking like, whatever, mixed feelings, get real. Rocking the Daisies is coming up in October. I'm thinking these thousands of people events, and there I am at a party with like 100 to 150 people at the time I was there, and just being like, this is great. Why would I need more than this? I love this. This makes me happy. Like, oh my God, the music is cool. I get to talk with my DJ friends. Fucking everyone's cool. The crowd is, to the best of their ability, they're doing all right with keeping distance in the mosque. That's exciting. I don't need the whole big shebang, but knowing that I open my Instagram and they're DJs I follow and they're just playing with no masks on top of each other, drinking booze out the bottle with a crowd that doesn't give a fuck. You kind of end up going like, why? Like, why do I wake up and choose to care? I actually asked that to like my dude's WhatsApp groups. We're all music industry people. I'm like, why do I give a fuck? My mate Ashley Brown from Plate Rage, Ashley Brown was like, because you have a conscience. And I'm just like, it can't be that rare. It can't be that there's like 5% of the population that has a conscience. There has to be something more to this that I'm missing, surely. So looking at artists rather, let me put it this way. If you were a hobbyist DJ to begin with, if you were someone who, you've got the day job, music has been the side hustle for a while, and you're creative, you're making the music, you're doing whatever. Obviously it goes without saying, keep it that way, because yes, keep the job. Like, yes, keep the stability right now, more than anything else. But keep the fire alive in what you're doing. If you are someone that loves making music, don't worry about getting the DJ bookings. Like, yeah, cool. Maybe you made more money from DJ bookings than you made from releasing music. But now is the time where you can go, I go to work, I come home, maybe I go for like a drink or two with my mates at like, and then I make music over the weekends, whatever. Now would be the time to start building up catalogs that you can start shopping out to labels overseas, or labels locally, if that's what you want to do. Major labels, independent labels. Now is the time where, funnily enough, as much as everyone should be at home and able to be creative, if you are in the position that you are feeling inspired, you're in a minority. And you should take full advantage of that, because I think you and I have both spoken to more than enough people whose livelihoods has come from making music. And these are people who have shat out record after record for 20 years. And some of them are like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I have no idea how to make music right now. From that perspective, if you're someone that wants to get into live performance and entertainment side of things, you want to get out there and you want to build a brand, you need to be very selective and very careful about where you position yourself. But more importantly, I would say look outside of the conventional realms of DJing. If you've got a decent enough setup, or you can build one between you and a partner or you and some friends, stream. I've seen some incredible people doing stuff on Twitch where they're building producer communities, and it's, they're giving away prizes to each other every week, doing little producer battles, but building an audience. And that model is looking at what guys like Bauer and Kenny Beats are doing in America, these huge names. Not enough people are doing that locally. Build content, I think, is the most important thing. I'm not trying to say be a content creator like you make videos or whatever, but if I, this past year, did not have like radio, if I didn't realize that like, oh shit, I'm holding myself back by just being a DJ. Like I'm actually I'm a brilliant creative, I'm a great designer, I'm all of these things. Let me throw my time and effort into that. I am fortunate enough that I have a reputation that I can use to get my foot in the door in new industries. What people should be doing now is building that reputation through excellence. Like, make things. If it doesn't work, don't get caught up on it, move on to the next thing. And it sounds like such stupid advice, like constantly be busy, but like, don't focus on DJing. Don't focus on when you can be the next headliner. Like, focus on building something that is going to make your name the first thing in people's minds the minute that lockdown is over. Even if it's not because you're a headliner, even if it's because you're putting out the best deep house mixtape every week. You're putting out the best ambient lo-fi. You do the live streams where you make remixes of stuff, whatever. You've got a community of producers or DJs around you. Get involved in the community, be involved in the industry, because all of those cuck people that have been doing whatever they want, as much as it's open season for them, when things open up again, the people who, yeah, they're going to be scummy people in power that'll probably always like them, but the actual people that have been putting on the massive events, all of that, they're not going to have any time to listen to these people. Oh, you were throwing play graves, or oh, you were DJing to 3,000 people at that illegal party that got the Western Cape locked down for another 6 months, hypothetically, as an example. You're not going to get booked. Promoters will never look at you again. So it's like, I don't know. I think the best example is like, people want to look at everything the way that people look at fucking crypto and investments and all of that kind of stuff. Is a short-term gamble on like being out there as a DJ the best investment for you long-term? Is that where you should be putting your time? No. Put your time and effort into things that are going to either pay out long-term and are going to build your reputation long-term that you can live off for a long time, or diversify and be involved in as many things, so that when music crashes down like this, you at least go, oh, well, I've got 9 other things I can work on. And okay, if music's not working because of live performance, then I'm going to do music like I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to push radio and I'm going to make music when I want to. Like have as many angles to go so that you're always relevant without needing to chase what scummy people will do easily, kind of thing. There we go. That's a long answer, but that's a good answer, I think.